So the finish line, if there is one, is your income coming from investments that you've made, and your income not being tied to your time, right? Your time is the most valuable thing you have in life. So the finish line, if there is one, has to be money coming to you without you having to go to work 8-9 hours a day, 40-50 hours a week for it, right? That's the finish line. That's where we should all be aspiring to get to. Now, the way that you get to that stage is by buying or investing in some sort of asset that's going to pay you a passive recurring income that can cover your living expenses and maybe even give you a little more on top. If you can get to that stage where your income, it's going to get a bit windy here, guys. If you can get to that stage where your income is not tied to the amount of hours that you work, congratulations, you've made it. And we can all get here. We just have to be very strategic, very disciplined for a sustained period of time. Normally, it's going to take around 3 to 5 years. Let's say 5 years just to be reserved. So, how do you buy these magical assets? Well, the assets that I'm talking about are properties, because of course, if you're in the UK, like me, you know that we are in a housing crisis and there is a shortage of housing. So, very similar to the game Monopoly, if you can buy housing and people land on your house, they're going to have to pay you rent. And because there is a limited supply of these houses and an ever-growing demand, the value of these houses is going to increase, because when demand is high and supply is low, like with anything, the value and the price goes up. So we know what the finish line is. The finish line is 3 to 4 houses that you own that pay you a passive recurring income that can cover your living expenses. Problem is, it's going to cost you at least £30,000 to £35,000 to buy one of these houses in the north of England or in Wales, where I invest, for example. So not all of us have £35,000 sitting around. So how do you get the £35,000? Well, you need to build a rent-to-rent business that allows you to control these properties with minimal capital invested. I'm talking 5 grand, 6 grand invested into someone else's asset, which you can then give a cosmetic refurbishment to and make money from. And oftentimes you can make more money from doing a rent-to-rent on someone else's property than you do from buying your own house and renting it out. On average, my buy-to-lets make around £350, £400 a month in net profit. On average, my rent-to-rents make around £800, £900 a month. I've even got a couple that make over £2,000 a month in profit. I don't own them. I only invested £6,000 to £8,000 into them. I didn't have to qualify for a mortgage. I didn't have to pay a solicitor. None of that stuff. Right? So, in order to get yourself to a place where you can save up enough to start buying property, you have to have a vehicle that allows you to make enough money but also gives you your time back. And that's what a rent-to-rent business can do. Because to do all of this stuff, you have to have space to think, and you don't have the space to think if you're always working 40-50 hour weeks and you're always busy and you've never got time to actually sit down, make a plan, write some notes down and actually attack that plan, right? So by building a rent-to-rent business, you can make more money, work for only 2 hours a day rather than 8, buy your time back, create some space to think and actually strategize and save some money. And then with that money that you saved, which is hopefully around 30 grand by the end of your first year in rent to rent, maybe 18 months, you should then be able to lay your first brick of that solid wall, which is going to be buy and buy to lets, which is ultimately the end goal, because that will create true passive income for you, which will allow you to be able to retire early within the next 5 years, if that's what you want to do. So you don't have to wait until you're 67. You do need to have a plan though, and to get to the finish line it's going to take you around 5 years. But the first step is to build a cash flowing business that allows you to make 5, 10, even 15 grand a month in some cases, like some of my students, by only investing 5, 10 grand into that business to get started. That's how it worked for me, that's how it's worked for many of my students, and that's how it can work for you too. Now if you want someone to help you start or scale your rent-to-rent business, I'll put a link in the video description below. Click the link, book in a free call with myself, and on that call we'll have a chat, see if we're a good fit for each other and if I'd be a good mentor for you. If not, keep watching the content, keep enjoying the videos and keep learning, and I'm sure you'll have some success. And as always guys, I'll see you on the next one.